Tonight's honorees have brought such distinction to their community, their sports, and to themselves that saluting them as we are tonight is not only appropriate, it is absolutely necessary. Gene Fisch.
When it comes to the question of who was the best high school basketball player in the old Syracuse Parochial League, the answer's debatable. But one of the greatest, without question, was Gene Fisch.
Well, now we know Gene Fisch is the greatest basketball player ever.
A young Polish immigrant who arrived in Syracuse with his family in 1949. It wasn't long after arriving and settling in on the west side that Gene started to excel in athletics. As part of the Polish neighborhood at Sacred Heart, he played in and formed friendships during pickup basketball games with the Irish kids from St. Patrick's on Tipperary Hill. As a high school player at Sacred Heart, those friendships remained, except when the two schools faced each other.
That's like once that whistle blows, you know, there was the Polish kids and the Irish kids and St. Pat's and Sacred Heart, and they wanted to beat each other as bad as they could beat each other.
Tonight, I want to invite you, in earnest, to listen to the things I love and admire most. My lifeline revolved around my parents, Bronislava and Andrew Fisch. My two sisters, Longina, Monica, and my brother Dominic, in a communion of one family, embarked on a journey of the heart. My mother would always remind me, and my brother and my sisters, we have every reason to live, but I would rather die before my name. My mother delivered me in the field alone, bit off the umbilical cord, and forever I touched the warmth of her soul. Together with my father's courage and faith, they instilled a spirit of identity, the love of God, country, family, a home, and forever it remains the fountain of blessing that in that field in Poland, where she gave me every reason to live so that I might have another chance in life. We survived 5 forced occupations. Each one was more brutal than the other one. 13 million people, citizens of Poland, one out of 3 disappeared from the beautiful land of Poland. Our family strength united us in the second chance that millions were not fortunate to have. In 1949, we found our place in the Syracuse community. First and foremost, I thank God and my parents for the privilege of being an American. For me, there is a profound sense of silent heroes in my life. To Reverend Hesberg, who came from the old parochial league, and his home at Notre Dame, I am the heroic figure of the 20th century, and I'm so profoundly privileged to be in that same company, along with these truly remarkable people we have at each side. Dearest friends of 61 years, my good friend Roz Sinikowski, her mother and father greeted us when we first came to Syracuse and gave us the first basket of food and welcomed us to the community of Syracuse. 55 years later, she labored for 3 years, typing 12,000 handwritten hieroglyphic pages of my first manuscript, which was All Love Comes Home. And at the same time, she was connected to a good friend of mine from New York City in a neighborly way and touched the grace of my manuscript, which really, I hope, will tell the true story of what happened in the 20th century. I would also like to recognize Cindy Hoffman, my niece and the oldest daughter of my brother Dominic, who saved our lives in many ways during the war. I am most proud of my 2 sons for holding up to what my mother and father valued most, principles of life that help keep us in balance, not to take ourselves too seriously or put our head between our legs and give up when things get rough. Matthew, who is an accomplished pharmaceutical scientist making life better for others, and Gene Jr., who produced his first Broadway show this past spring, provides a little joy in other people's lives. My mother, and many times over, said that she would rather die before her name. I am so honored that my 2 sons live by those meaningful words. We need not fear the future, but embrace it with courage, faith, and character. At the age of 15, my son Gene Jr., on June 4, 1984, asked if he could give a homily at Sacred Heart. On June 5, 1984, the next morning, my mother's funeral mass, my son placed his hand at the casket. where Babcha laid in peace in her soul went to heaven, and said the following words about character meant to her 14 kids and my parents' grandchildren. My father once said, Jean said, when you lose your health, you lose something. When you lose your wealth, you lose nothing. When you lose your character, you lose everything. That's our Babcha, that's my mother. Now her character is enshrined, and the name lives forever in this incredible blessing, the greater Syracuse community. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.